Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
When do you become a business owner, an entrepreneur? Many of us end up having hobbies that become businesses down the road. As an author, if you publish a book, generally speaking, we don't get too heavily involved in the business end of things. But when you start publishing many books, now that has a different taste in your mouth, so to speak, because you now, in order to get things done, you have to actually start acting like a manager of your own business. So today we have one of those. Liisa Kovala is an author, award-winning author. She's Canadian, Finnish. She is a book coach. She's a podcaster. She's an entrepreneur. She's a lot of different things. So Liisa, please join me back up here on stage.
Hi, Red. How are you?
Exceptionally well, as always.
Great. Great to see you.
And we talked on the corner bookstore not long ago and covered a lot of your books and what you did as an author. But today I want to focus more on, you are now more in the business, the entrepreneurial side of things. And ironically, I think you're the third person in the last 4 weeks that we've had that has been almost a very heavily business side of the author business, which is not often the case. A lot of the authors we have are, they're kind of into it. They're still learning, but you've transitioned. You used to be, I think, a high school teacher, a lot of creative arts or something like that.
That's right. Yes. I was an English teacher for 28 years.
And the English that you taught, was that Canadian English or was that American English?
100% Canadian English all the way.
All the way, eh?
Eh?
Hey. Okay. So now we got that established. So you have written several books. Your most recent one is Like Water for a Thirsty, Weary Soul.
Yes.
That was just a few months ago, the end of 2025. But then part of your business development is now you also have books under a pen name, and you've written 3 so far this year.
That's right.
But these are cozy mysteries. Tell us, you went from the world of Nordic and history into cozy mysteries. So that requires some explanation, I think, to our audience.
Yeah, I guess it does, actually. I actually started writing, the first book I wrote was a nonfiction book, and then I started writing historical fiction, and I just love learning about Finnish history, and I just want to explore my heritage. And so I was writing historical novels. So I wrote 2, Sisu's Winter War, and then Like Water for Weary Souls came out last year. I have another one with the editor, and I have a 4th that is sitting on my laptop, which I haven't decided exactly what's going to happen with that one yet. It's not quite done. But somewhere along the way, I just felt like I need a bit of a break. Writing historical requires so much research and years of investment. And I thought, okay, I need to write something lighter. And I was thinking about what kind of genre fiction might I write? And I've always loved cozy mysteries since I was a kid, read all the Agatha Christie's, all the things. So I just thought, okay, why don't I try my hand at cozy mysteries? And I just fell in love with doing that. So now I'm kind of juggling both. In fact, I'm also writing nonfiction at the moment too. So I feel like, I'm writing on all kinds of genres, and who knows where I'll go next.
So how do you divide your day up between writing and being an author and running a business as being an author?
Yeah, that's the tricky part, right? So I'm kind of a really big fan of time blocking. So I generally know what parts of the day are for what different tasks. I usually spend 2 hours in the morning co-writing with, in fact, my daughter, who's a journalist, and we write together. And I have other times in the day where I'm probably more suited to doing the social media or the newsletter or those kinds of tasks. And there's certain days of the week that are for my clients. So every week looks different, but I really like that. It's fun to have a variety of things going on, and just, you have to kind of flow with it as well. But there's definitely times that need to be dedicated to your writing, but also to the business end, which is, we don't necessarily love that part, but we have to do it.
Okay, in the banner we showed up for the show today, it says, "Find your inner Sisu, courage, resilience, and the power of storytelling."
Yeah.
For most of us, we've never heard of the word Sisu.
Yeah.
We talked about it during the corner bookstore. So why don't you tell us what that word really means, and how does it apply to the Great Show?
Yeah, Sisu is such an important Finnish concept, and I grew up understanding it and sort of ingrained in me. And of course, you realize, oh, not everyone knows what this word means. It's courage, determination in the face of great adversity, and it became kind of popularized during the Finnish-Russian Winter War in the 30s. And the world kind of learned about it. It's that moment when you have to keep moving forward, but you don't think, necessarily that anything good is going to come of that, or it's going to go in your favor, but you keep moving forward anyway. So that's like a real resilience that's kind of even deeper than the grit that we sometimes talk about. So Sisu is super important. And I think we all have it within us to draw on in times when, things are tough. So I think we all need a little Sisu right now. So we can do this, right? We can keep moving forward. And I like to talk about that in my books too. I think that's an important concept for everyone.
So you kind of put that hat on that says, "I'm now an immovable object, and no matter what happens, I'm going to succeed. I'm getting through this no matter what."
That's right. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, right? You just, even if you're not feeling like you can do it, you just one step at a time, and it will get you where you're going. And it's just, you have to deal with the consequences of whatever is going to happen, but you just keep going forward. What other way is there to live, really? Like, we have to draw on that strength.
You gave me a word that describes the first day of walking the Camino de Santiago in Spain. On day one, we were walking 800 kilometers, 500 miles. And so day one, we're walking over the Pyrenees Mountains. And it literally, I am absolutely guaranteeing you right now, it was literally one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And, I would count, and I'd get down, like 25, I have to take a break. 10, I have to take a break. 5, I have to take a break. But when you're climbing up the Pyrenees, and of course, my poor wife's behind me, and she's not even standing sometimes. She's on all fours, because it was a hellacious first day. We almost, it's one of those, do we really need to do this? This first day is so overpowering. So now I have a word for it. And
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but you mentioned one foot in front of the other no matter what.
That's right. Keep going forward. You must have felt so amazing at the end of that first day, like just exhausted and hurting, but also like you did it.
Well, we got almost to the end, went to the highway. We still had 4 kilometers to go, and my wife said, "I'm not moving. You send a taxi for me." So I take the last 4. It turns out I took the road, not through the back mountain, but the actual highway.
Yeah.
And I got there, and several things happened. Number one, first thing, I had to have some water. That I drank a bunch of water. I asked about taxi. They said your taxi is like 40 euros. I have to get from another city. So that's not going to happen. So she says, one of the guys waiting table says, "If you don't mind, I'll go out there and pick her up." So he volunteered his time, went out there. We got my wife back. We got her I thought I was in this hotel, but I wasn't. I go to the next one. They have almost no rooms left. So I take one, almost at last. And then the other option was a 400 bed monastery. And my wife says, "The only way I'm going to walk the Camino is if it's private room, private bath every night. I'm not sharing a bath with 400 people or a bed." And so we ended up having that, but we expected to have our bags there. Well, our bags weren't there. Right. So one of the guys from the monastery says, for 40 euros, a donation to the monastery, I'll drive you back to over into France, we'll go to where you spent the night and see what your bags are still there. So I'm thinking to myself, do I have to buy everything all over again? And so I was going through that mental, and so we finally get over there, but he has to be back by 10, otherwise they lock the door. If he's out, he's out. So we find it. My bags are still sitting there. They didn't pick them up like they were supposed to. I mean, the first day was just so many comedy of errors. We get back, and I get my bags, get back there in time for him to get into his. So yeah, that first day,
Amazing.
We decided that we needed a break, so we were going to take the bus to the next location, which was a backup plan all along. You know, if we get injured, we're going to keep advancing, as you say, one step. But we decided there was a couple days we took a bus because it just was so either physically wrecking or nerve. But it was just that was something else. But we did do 500. We did 500 miles in 30 days, about 18 miles a day average.
That's incredible, right? That's Sisu, right? You just kept going forward and you found a way to do it. Amazing.
Let's talk a little bit before we get into the business end of things. Okay, so you wrote Like Water for a Weary Soul. Tell us a little bit about that book, and then we'll move into the cozy mysteries.
Yeah, so that one is set during the 1930s in a mining town in Northern Ontario. Happens to be the town that I grew up in and I'm living in now, Sudbury, Ontario. And I set out to write historical fiction, but also with a mystery. So it's about two sisters who move from their farming community into the city, and one sister's body is found in Nolan Creek. The other sister is determined to find out what happened to her. Police say it's an accident. She says, no, it's not. And so it's historical fiction blended with mystery. And it was really quite a fun challenge for me to combine those two things together.
Okay, so that came out October of last year. And then you have another one, actually three so far, one literally this week, one a short while ago, another one earlier in 2026. So you decided to get into these cozy mysteries, and you have Higgies and Homicide. And I understand Higgy has some kind of personal meaning to you of a house or a location or something. I was doing some research on that.
Okay, yeah. So it's actually a Danish and Norwegian word that's pronounced hygge, which, well, I mean, if you're Danish or Norwegian, you'll probably correct me because I'm probably not saying it perfectly right, but close. And it's just an idea of comfort and coziness. And, you know, maybe there's long, dark winters and you grab a blanket and go in front of the fireplace and have a book and maybe your friends, and just quiet, calm, safe, secure kind of coziness. So that's the idea of hygge, which has been making the rounds for maybe a decade now in North American culture. And then I thought, okay, well, my Finnish Norwegian protagonist is a Northern Ontario midlife woman, and she is starting a new business with her best friend Christy, and they decide to call their event space Hygge House because they want to gather, you know, that comfort and that coziness around them. But of course, on the first occasion that they're opening the business, they find a dead body. So that's the homicide part of Hygge and Homicide. So it's been really fun to write a series that leans into my love of Nordic culture and Finnish culture, but also my love of mysteries and, you know, that idea of hygge.
How do you find the editing from your earlier books versus your cozy mysteries different?
Oh, well, I have amazing editors. So I love having a great editor who can be like, yeah, no, or, you know, they can really refine things. So it is different, right? Because, you know, the historical have so much research embedded in it. And so there's a lot of actual facts that are happening, whereas the cozy mysteries are grounded in contemporary time and space. So they're a little bit less research for me to do and much more of leaning into things I already know. So the editing happens sort of more at a granular line editing, copy editing stage rather than the full developmental edit stage. So yeah, they're different, but not super different once you get to that stage of the process.
Okay, so the location are in Scandinavia?
So the location is actually Northern Ontario. So I thought, okay, There's a lot of novels that are, and movies and television shows called Nordic noir. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but there doesn't seem to be cozy, like Nordic cozies. So I thought, well, I'm just going to invent that. I don't know if somebody else has already invented that term, but I've decided Nordic cozies is what I'm writing. And so she's Northern Ontarian. She's Canadian. And so are her friends, but her mother's from Finland. Her father's Norwegian. So she's brought all of these Nordic ideals. She's a interior designer who specializes in Scandinavian design. So bringing in those kinds of fun elements, it's not the center of the story. Like obviously the murder is the center of the story, but it's kind of setting a tone, setting something interesting. And I hadn't seen it done before. So I thought, why not, see how this might work. And luckily people are loving it. So I'm very gratified about that because, sometimes you try something, you don't know if it's going to work out, but it's had a really great response so far.
Okay, so just a few days ago, you released Murder by Nordic Design.
Yes.
And then you have another one that's now almost ready to edit or finish writing or whatever. So how many books do you envision in this series?
I'm hoping to do, well, I shouldn't say hoping because that makes it sound like I'm not sure. I'm writing 6 in the series. And so I have 3 out and 3 planned for coming out next year. And so that gives me a character arc for my protagonist and her crew. So that gives me a little bit of a deadline to get 3 more out next year as well, which I love a deadline from a business perspective. You need to know that it's going to happen, right? So yeah, that's the plan for this series. And I have in the back of my mind, there might be a little bit of a spin-off with some of the characters. So we'll see. That's for down the road.
Okay, so the really important part for our audience out here today is the fact that you've written your first few books on the history side of things with one name, and then you use a pen name for the other side of your books on the cozy mysteries. I don't necessarily know that we have to go into a reason why, but the cozy mysteries are using the pen name of A.L. Jensen.
That's right.
Jensen. So if you're looking for the cozy mysteries, you don't look under Liisa Kovala.
That's right. That's right. Look for A.L. Jensen. A.L. is my first name, Annalisa, which is actually my name. And Jensen is my husband and my children's last name. So it's me. It's just a different version of me.
Okay, so if you don't adapt one of the characters in your book after you get the 6 written, you're going into what, sci-fi romance or something?
Ooh, wouldn't that be fun? I think that would be really great. With Finnish characters, of course. Finnish space.
Finnish alien characters.
Ooh, I love that even more. Okay, Red, I think you're onto something.
Well, it's all yours. I just a passing thought.
Amazing.
So, so let's now start concentrating a little bit on the business aspects of things. So you wrote your books, you got them edited, you got them published, you're marketing them. The 3 books you wrote this year, when did you start marketing each book? When you started writing or before you wrote them or what?
So I try to do as much as I can before a book is coming out. I always advise my writers to start writing about working on the process of writing a book, even let people know what's happening, let them into your world, because, we can say, oh, here's my book and here's the cover and buy my book. And yes, you need to tell them that it's available, but also really you're building a community of people who are interested in your work and letting them into your life a little bit. So I write a Substack newsletter. Lots of things happen there, including a women's writing feature for other writers, so I can feature them, and a podcast. And then I write about me as a book coach and as an author, and the mistakes I make and the challenges that I have and the deadlines I set for myself that I can't always manage. So I'm trying to be really honest about what all this work is like, and let them know what I'm writing so that when the time comes, they're ready for it, right? They're like, okay, we're really interested in Hygge and Homicide, for instance, book 1 in this series. I knew readers were ready for it because my newsletter list was enthusiastic about it. So I thought, okay, I'm onto something, right? So there's a give and take there too. They're giving you feedback, and I shared covers early on and, got great feedback about the covers. So yeah, I think you have to start really early, even before publication date, right? To let people know this is the thing I'm doing. And it means you have a nice community surrounding you who are supporting you too, which is really lovely.
Okay, we're getting ready to go to a commercial break here in just a very brief moment, about a minute and a half. When we come back, I'd like to talk about your coaching side of things, and we'll go into some detail there before we continue on to the rest of your business. So enjoy the commercial. We'll be right back.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Red O'Loughlin here. We're on the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And my guest today is Liisa Kovala. Liisa, please join me back up here on stage.
Here we are.
Okay, you're a book coach, but you also do it one-on-one. You do group coaching. You do retreats. You do a lot of things. Let's talk about the coaching end of things. What do you help people do, and what would be an ideal client for you?
Yes. Oh, book coaching, I found after I retired from teaching, as you mentioned earlier, and it's working one-on-one with clients who are maybe have the seed of an idea and want to work through the process of figuring out what the story is. Sometimes I have clients who have a manuscript, but they don't know really, they've got stuck somewhere in the middle and they need help moving forward. Sometimes it's a developmental edit. They're done or they're close to being done and they want more feedback on it. And then we work through that process. So it can look like different things for different folks, but generally speaking, I work with a lot of first-time authors, either writing fiction or memoir. And so we kind of have that conversation early on about what this should look like, what it is they want to accomplish, what kind of coaching they need, and then we work on what package is best for them. But I'm finding it just such a joyful thing to do because it sort of marries my love of literature and my love of teaching, and I get to work one-on-one with these writers who are doing the stuff I love, right? So it's just perfect blend.
Okay, so you do podcasts, you do a Substack, you do you're speaking, you have a lot of things that's in the hat of being a business owner. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they didn't all happen at the same time, but somebody writes a book and I'm writing a second book and I really need to concentrate. What kinds of problems did you have transitioning from just being a pure author to somebody taking charge of your business and actually making things work?
I think that's a great question because we as authors we really just want to write the book. Like that's our baby. And then when you take off that hat and you put the business hat on, there's a whole host of things you have to learn to do. And it means you have to be no longer think of the book as a baby and it's now a product. And that's hard, right? Because it's our baby. We spent sometimes years and years on this book. And now it's going out into a marketplace and we have to promote it it, and we have to, do all those things that we don't necessarily want to do or know how to do. So I just decided early on that I would pick one thing a year that I would focus on. One year it was really leaning into the Substack newsletter to really figure out how it works and to grow my readership. This year I'm learning all about Facebook ads. So it might sound dreadful to some people, but when you decide that that's something you need to do, then you just attack it like you would as a student, right? That I don't know anything. Let's find out who does. Let's learn about these things. Let's try it. So it's just a different hat, but I'm a lifelong learner. So I don't mind finding out about new things. I'm happy to learn from experts. I'm happy to take classes. I'm happy to maybe invest in a business coach if that's what I need to do. So yeah, I think authors need to kind of separate those two things a little bit, right? There's your book baby that you love so much, but then there's this other part that you should learn to love and embrace. And once you do, it's a little bit easier than just that feeling of, I can't, which we've all felt it, but.
Sometimes we as writers, we know this and this and this, but as business owners, that's a totally different world. Most of the time we work for somebody else during our lives. We don't accumulate, the accounting specialty or the marketing specialty or the planning specialty. There's a lot of things there. And so as you're transitioning, sometimes, well, maybe I can buy that service, so you buy some marketing or you buy some whatever. And it will happen more often than not that sometimes you get scammed. I have been there. I have lost money. And that also gives me, I have to know more about what I'm doing than just paying somebody to do it. Now, if I only need one website, maybe I pay somebody to do a website. But if I need a whole bunch of websites because of whatever that business requirement is, maybe I ought to know how to do a website. So the business drives what I should know. And that's kind of part of the problem of what's important first. Now, as a business owner of it, being an author, one of those things is marketing.
Yes.
And that is something that, as you mentioned earlier, the earlier the better. But it's something that has to be constantly played with. You just can't market today and hope that it'll last for tomorrow, because unless people see it, they don't know it exists. The audience is looking at it today is not the same audience 6 weeks from now.
That's right.
And so, that's an area. YouTube has a lot of good information for, video and everything else. One of the things I use my AI for nowadays is to generate 1-minute videos. And so I just generated 8 of them yesterday. And I'm using those as part of my social media presence. Do you use AI at all as part of your business dealing?
I'm sort of dabbling in some bits and bobs and learning about that. I think that's important for us to start to understand in what ways we can use it that are effective, that don't infringe on our writing. Like, there's a hard line for me. I won't write with AI, but I think that there's things you can ask it that will help you in terms of marketing and promotion and a strategy. So I'm sort of just getting my toes wet at the moment to figure out, like, okay, what is this and how can it help me? Is this more effective than what I could do myself? I think the biggest thing is it's such a time saver, especially for somebody that doesn't necessarily know, like, I'm not trained as a marketer or a promoter. I have to learn all those things. So I think there are definitely benefits for people to use it, but cautiously, especially in this day and age. We have to just, and find those experts that can help us learn how to use it appropriately too, I think.
Yeah. I think you hit on the main word about using AI, caution.
Yes.
That's it took me 2 years to multiple prompt updates, slapping it upside the head, saying, no, it's not what I want. Biggest problem I had, honestly, was it wanted to overprotect me. We finally had a long, heart-to-heart talk about, you give me the information I want, I will make the decision on whether I use it or not. You don't prejudge that I don't need this information. That took a long, and then I'm not going to say a couple times a week, I'm saying, are you trying to protect me? And I'm guilty. And so it's, even though we have the understanding, the system still has a need built in, a self-protection mode or something. Right. But for me, I find it extremely valuable. I use several different kinds of AI, but most beneficial is generating 1-minute videos. I give it
Right.
a text that takes that test and converts it into a video. And now it's something that's ready for any social media that's out there.
Yeah.
And I find that to be very, very helpful in what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's an amazing use of it. And I also think you mentioned something that I hit home for me, which is ultimately we, as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, as the author, we make every decision. So, yes, use these tools if you want to use them, figure out what will work for you. But they are just that, right? They're just tools, just like a computer is a tool, like our pen and paper back in the day and our slate back in the olden times. They were tools for us to use. And, figuring out how to use this new tool can be overwhelming. I find it sometimes a little bit too much and I walk away. And then other times I think, oh, this is really great. It can do this for me and this will save me time. But ultimately, I'm in control of it and I'm not allowing it to make decisions for me because I think we need to know what we want for our own business and for our own writing. Again, back to that word caution.
Yeah, absolutely right, Lisa. I had I'm coming up with a webinar series in September, but I also want to come up with a complementary book to the one I just wrote. And so I'm trying to juggle things. And I use my AI as a brainstorming tool periodically. And so I said, what kind of marketing do I need now? Or what about this? Or I'll pull some marketing thing off of Instagram and I say, what does this really mean? And I get interpretation back. So I use it in a lot of different ways. But it might give me a template for something and I'll see a word or a phrase or something that reminds me of something else. And I'll say, no, that's not what I want. And so
Yeah.
it jogs my mind in ways that I wouldn't be able to jog it myself. So for me, I
Yes.
find it to be from a business side of things, making some of those kind of decisions. But from the writing, just like you, it's all me to start with.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
then let's tweak it, edit it, whatever I need to do, validate it, make sure that whatever it is. And I don't use just one AI. I say go to another one. Is this real? And then have that confirmation done one or two other places because of what I write. I have to make sure the accuracy of what's there.
100%. Oh, that's good to use the two AIs as checking on each other, like another, check and balance, right? To make sure that, okay, yeah, that's, I never thought of doing that, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, Grammarly offers a lot of AI nowadays that never used to. One of them is a citation. So I have something there that talks about insulin resistance. I can get a citation from National Health Labs or something, but then I'll come back and there's a fact checker part of that. And sometimes a fact checker says that's not a legitimate citation. And
Okay.
so I may have 7 to 17 citations and they all may be good or 90% of them may be bad. I've had all sorts of things. So that within Grammarly gives me two different AIs that's looking at two different aspects. And then I come down to the plagiarization. Is anything here plagiarized? Because I want to know that. One
Yeah.
of the funniest things that ever happened to me was, I plagiarized a guy named Red O'Loughlin.
Of course you did.
Yeah. So it's
Famous guy.
so that kind of made me laugh a little bit. But yeah, it's again, as you said, it's a tool, and it's
Yeah.
how well you train your tool to work. But again,
Yeah.
you are the ultimate authority on what you do. But sometimes your brain doesn't always know everything, not some of the things that are available. And
Yeah.
so I find it very, very useful for me, not in the
Yeah.
kinds of thing. I'm sure it would work in cozy mysteries in some aspect, but maybe I don't need to know the homicide code for that small city within there because it's not important. But if I
Right.
wanted to know it, then I would know what that was because when they say I have a 10-4 over the radio, I would know that I have a 10-4 over the radio.
That's right.
So anyway,
It's true.
so,
That's a great example.
yeah. So, but there, again, most of the time it's brainstorming, but I use it a lot for videos, and that to me is very important in the
Yeah.
marketing end of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely there are people out there who know a lot about book marketing and promotion and have spent years studying all of these, advertising techniques. And here we as authors are just expected to know how to do it. Like we just, is something you have to learn like everything else. And I think taking it into your own hands and learning as much as you can is a great way to start. But this tool is invaluable in that way. I think it'll give you quick responses and ideas, at least, about what it is you want to do. And then you can make those decisions for yourself.
Who would be an ideal guest on your podcast?
Who would be an ideal guest on the podcast? Ooh, Margaret Atwood, maybe. I've watched some of her interviews over the decades, and she is sharp-witted, and she's not going to, she will not suffer a fool. So I'm not sure that I'd be up to the challenge, but I think she'd be fascinating person to interview on women writing.
Okay, so your primary interest, women writers for your podcast.
Yeah, it's women writers, but also other women who are in the industry. I've had booksellers and publishers, and somebody came on, Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer came on to talk about dictation. So just people who are in the industry in different ways that we can learn from. Because like we were saying earlier, there's so many experts out there who can teach us, and we can't know everything as authors, especially if we're, new or emerging authors. So I try to find those folks that will help us, ground us in some information that we can then go pursue for ourselves. So it's been really fun to highlight some of the women in the industry.
Okay. How do people buy your books? How do they get in touch with you? Do you have any speaking gigs coming up or anything like that, or any retreats?
Yes. So I have a session at BoucherCon in Calgary in October. So that's going to be really fun. And the books are all available on Amazon and Ingram Spark, and wherever you get your books, you can get them ordered into your store. And ask for them at your library. That's always an amazing thing to do as well. And my website is liisakovala.bookcoach.com, and you can find book coaching information and information about my books, both the cozies and the historical.
Okay, for our audio audience, who'll be joining us later on this afternoon when the program is released, Liisa, L-I-I, two I's, Liisa, L-I-I-S-A, Kovala, K-O-V-A-L-A, bookcoach.com. So Liisa Kovala, bookcoach.com. Liisa, I enjoyed it just like we did the last time. Thank you so very, very much for your time. And I'm sure we're going to bump into each other down the road. It just always happens that way. So take care, enjoy, have a wonderful time.
Thank you so much, Brad. It was a delight as always.
As always, thank you. One of the phrases I used to use a lot myself. I'm Red O'Loughlin. If you're watching the show today on YouTube and you're not a subscriber to the USA Global TV and Radio Network or to Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, we'd certainly appreciate you seriously considering being a subscriber, again, on YouTube. I am a researcher. My book just came out a month ago called Aging Sucks. There will be a pain sucks. There will be a fat sucks. There will be a dementia sucks. This is the first in a series of sucks books that will be written. I write my books as an aging sucks. It's not a health book. It's not an anti-aging book. It's not a longevity book. It is a book about understanding what's happening in our bodies at the molecular level in plain English, that can help you understand and make better decisions, be able to talk to your doctor better, be able to understand what's happening. So I am going to say, have fun, enjoy, be safe, and don't let anybody steal your joy. Catch you all next week. Bye now.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.